Good afternoon, everyone. Our time is limited for me as everybody else, and which means I won't be able to go into any depths of what I want to talk about, but I want to talk about energy branding in retail. Now, I ask myself, what the hell am I doing here? After all, I'm a sofa salesman, not an engineer. Now, during the last 2 days, today and yesterday, I've been listening to lots of presentations regarding energy, grids, V2G, which is a new one for me, storage, so forth. But I missed discussions about the everyday consumer products and what role energy actually plays in that and possibly branding those things. And like so many others here, I freely admit that I only have half a clue of what I'm doing here. But the feeling that I have is quite strong, and it's a good one, that this meeting and this seminar is a step in the right direction. And I'm also quite confident that if you're planning on waiting until everything is clear in this spectrum, then you'll be too late, and someone else will have taken the initiative. So the question that I've asked myself is can correct and focused energy branding enhance the brand value? And me, like so many others, I'm quite fond of strong brand value. But before we go into that, I would like to describe briefly to you the IKEA concept, what IKEA is all about. Now, first, it's our vision of creating a better everyday life for the many people, and then it's our business idea of offering a wide range of well-designed and functional home furnishing at prices so low that as many people as possible can afford to buy them. This is basically it, and everything else we do in IKEA is supposed to support this one way or the other. Now, IKEA in many ways is quite a unique company at its size, and everything that we sell is designed by IKEA, which is not normal. Everything that we produce is either produced by IKEA Industry Group or by a commission of someone else, which means that we have full control of the range and full responsibility of it. And that's a lot of responsibility, but also, if handled properly, strong possibilities. Which brings us to a vital part of our DNA. Now, affordable price is a red thread, as I said, with our vision and business idea. And in order to fulfill that, you need to have smart thinking all the time, and also means you have to limit all waste. And waste, just as energy, is in many shapes and not always apparent. And over the decades, IKEA is a 60-year-old company. The company has been honing its ways of working, and the evidence is all around us, often in plain view, but not necessarily obvious. It is so common that we sometimes take it for granted. And what you see here is actually a container filled to the brim with flat packing, and it's a fantastic way of actually saving energy. And the same goes for our clever packaging and our design. So this is taking into consideration whenever we do things. Now, I could go on about our sustainable initiatives. The list is quite long. I could discuss how IKEA is sponsoring this Better Cotton initiative, where they're teaching poor farmers in India and Pakistan how to grow cotton using half the water, half the pesticides, half the fertilizer, and doubling the yield. That's most definitely saving energy. I could talk about LED bulbs at reasonable prices. I could talk about Better Palm Oil Initiative. All these initiatives have one thing in common, that's energy saving, plus it has positive impact in terms of social and environmental responsibility. And this has been going on for quite some time. So one might think that IKEA would be scoring extremely high in the minds of many people when it comes to measurements of sustainable living. But that wasn't the case. Now, for the longest time, we were actually scraping the bottom. And in a brand survey that was conducted in 2011, low awareness of IKEA sustainability direction was actually deemed to be one of our main weaknesses. Now, this is from the survey of 2011, and at the very bottom, shows it takes responsibility for the environment. And we see here that it's pointing out that environment and social initiatives are weak spots. So despite all our efforts, confident that all our great deeds were household knowledge. Most people didn't have a clue. So we find ourselves in a dilemma. We are actually greener than most companies, with many social and sustainable initiatives going on our agenda, but we need an amplifier, something that will lift us from the bottom, closer to the awareness that we knew we were entitled to, because people just didn't know. And in our introvert way of thinking, we had been living in a bubble. Everybody at the office knew how great we were. That's where it ended. So we asked ourselves, what have we been doing so wrong since we are scoring that low on the sustainability agenda? And what could we do to raise the awareness? Our findings were that people are associated with things that are near to them, not in Southeast Asia. People are associated with things they understand, not complex issues thousands of miles away. And therefore one should focus on a simple and strong message that the general public can relate to, associate with, and appreciate. Now, obvious to the fact that what we've been doing so far was insufficient, we decided on a change of course. A simple main message, a main driver. So we decided to bet on the emergence of electric cars as our main vehicle in carrying a message across. Now this is actually taken in front of our beautiful store in Garðabær, and we have 60 spots for charging vehicles now, 50 for our customers and then 10 for our co-workers. And sad to say, that's pretty much the same amount of parking, green parking as we will find in a great Reykjavík area, sad to say. But electric cars have been a hot topic in all media for quite some time, and it's very easy for the public to strongly associate with it. We're talking about clean, locally produced energy instead of burning dinosaurs. We saw this huge gap in the infrastructure, and we decided to be the one to fill the gap, or at least partially. Now, I don't have time to go into the details, but we have used our considerable marketing and PR muscle to get the message across that IKEA is by far the biggest fish when it comes in the pool of paving the way for green transportation. It was quite evident yesterday when we had the Minister of Natural Resources, Björt Ólafsdóttir, twice mentioning us, plus all the mentions we've had here today. Now, I briefly want to show you where we were in 2014 when we started this journey. This is a sustainability slide from a brand capital, from a survey we conducted called Brand Capital, and our sustainability perception. And they're asking about 6 or 7 things, and most of it is gray, meaning people have no idea. Very few negatives with the red ones, but the green ones are much smaller than I would have hoped for, you know. This is 2014, and I'm looking at where we are now. They actually have added questions, which means that IKEA is focusing even more now on sustainability. The gray ones have shrunk considerably, the green ones have grown, and the red ones actually are smaller than before. And this is has not just to do with environmental issues, but also social ones. So we are seeing, that people are saying that transparency has grown from 37 to 50%, ethical business practices from 52 to 34, and I can assure you that I'm not any better now than I was 3 or 4 years ago. Committed to renewable energy, it's 25% now, was 16 before. Now 25 is not much, but you have to bear in mind that less than 5% of the people are driving electric cars, so most people haven't used the services. And this is like a dashboard report showing the whole brand's perspective. And we're seeing here that operates in a way better for society and the environment. It's 68% positive, up 13. And if for the brand people here, the brand attachment, 91% of people would actually miss me if I would go away. In Europe, this is often around 30%. Now, after more than 3 decades here in Iceland, the general public was not aware of the social and environmental agenda of the company, contrary to our belief. By grabbing a front seat in this new revolution when it comes to changing from fossil fuel to electricity, IKEA has in the span of 3 years managed to double the awareness and is now considered to be in the absolute forefront in terms of sustainable life and social responsibility. Now, this is just the beginning of this journey. 2 years from now, hopefully I'll be here in this forum, or even a bigger forum, in Charles 2019, telling you about my new initiative, which we're starting early next year. We plan to prove the skeptics wrong by offering electric charge for vehicles from the solar-powered panels here in the north. Now, if it turns out to be a success, which I surely hope for, and I'm betting on, then I have a 14,000 square meter roof to play with, which means I will be able to charge all the customer vehicles. And if that becomes true, our brand value will be the cause of envy of others. Thank you.